Hello everyone! This is Running on Empty Food Review! Well, hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone watching. Welcome one and all to this newest edition of the Running on Empty Food Review series. I'm your host, The Report of the Week. Thank you for checking in. You're never gonna believe what McDonald's did. I mean, you're not gonna believe it. I could tell it to you right now without building it up like I'm about to anyway, and you wouldn't believe it. You'd say no. You would say no, review bro. Just no. They didn't. They did not. But they did. They did it in 2020. Then they did it again in 2021. That's strange, you know. Maybe that's an anomaly. Then they did it in 2022. 2023. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that once again they did it. Now in 2024, the Spicy McNuggets. They are back. Yeah, that was the most hardcore introduction I've ever done for a review. They did it. They're back. Who saw this coming, right? It's not like they've brought them back at the same exact time every year, year after year after year. No, that obviously wasn't the case, but it's sort of a bit of a tradition, and there are certain items that this happens with on this channel because, you know, I'll review essentially whatever is being talked about, whatever is a new release from a major chain. But there are certain releases where it's like I've tried it before, I've tried it a number of times, but it sort of becomes like a little bit of a tradition on this channel to re-review them, almost make it like an annual sort of thing. It's an interesting way to see, are the standards being maintained? Are things getting better? Are things getting worse? And I still get a lot of requests for this sort of stuff, so I just go ahead with it. There are similar reviews like this that I'll do for the McRib, for instance, or for a while when Taco Bell was doing their triple-double crunch wrap. That was another item that I would review year after year after year. And the Spicy McNuggets from McDonald's are another instance of this, where I tried them in 2020 and every year subsequently. But it's just interesting to sort of keep track of it, see how the price fluctuates, how the quality fluctuates, and interesting to see, again, are the standards being maintained? Are things getting better, worse, etc. So they are back for a limited time, probably a few weeks, maybe a month or two, at McDonald's, the Spicy McNuggets. And as the name implies, they're your chicken McNuggets, but spicy. And the spice on this is sort of baked in to the chicken itself. It's a blend of cayenne and chili pepper. In the past, I have noticed that they indeed do pack quite a punch. They are on the spicier side as far as fast food nuggets are concerned. Some good news for once. I'm pleased to see this, quite frankly. The price has actually dropped somewhat compared to recent years. For instance, in 2022, the price for a 10-piece was around $7.50. But I was very pleased. I was able to purchase a 10-piece now for the price of $5.30. So that's some good news there. The price has actually dropped a little bit by $2. That's a substantial drop. Of course, now I can only hope the quality didn't drop with the price, but that's good to see, because so often these days you're paying more and more for what in many cases is just literal garbage, you know, just it shouldn't even qualify as food, and it gets more and more expensive. So to see something where the price is actually dropping, I imagine many are sort of breathing a sigh of relief. All right, lastly, it was interesting. I noted down the previous scores for the spicy nuggets, and it's interesting. They've always been well regarded. I've always enjoyed them. In 2020, I did a comparative analysis between McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's spicy nuggets The McDonald's, they were my favorite. I didn't give it a numerical score, but they were just my favorite of all of them. In 2021, I gave them a 9.3 out of 10. It's quite the score. In 2022, I gave them an 8 out of 10, and in 2023, I gave them an 8.6 out of 10. So, interesting to note. They've been very well received, and hopefully the trend will continue, but of course, we'll find out in a moment. 10 count right there. Spicy Chicken McNuggets. And one thing that I've always noticed over the years, and this is no exception, the spicy nugs, as they call them occasionally, have more of an orange hue to them. And that's because spice usually takes upon an orange color. I'm just making that up. There you go. You can get, with the nuggets, dipping sauces, 2 dipping sauces. So I decided to go all in. I got spicy buffalo, but then I needed to moderate it out a little bit, so I also got everyone's favorite ranch. Ranch, right there. And a close-up view. I'm in a bit of a sarcastic mood tonight, I guess, but sometimes I just have fun with these things, you know. I thought, I've reviewed this. This is going to be the 5th time I've reviewed them, so may as well have a little fun with it. It'll be interesting, though, to see how they are this time around, you know, if they're any better, any worse. Hopefully they're not any worse, but of course we'll find out. Let's get to it. The Spicy Chicken McNuggets from McDonald's, 2024 edition, going in. Quick cross-section view. I'm not going to try the sauce just yet, but I am opening them. When I've reviewed them a number of times before, it's essentially, and you know, when it's something as simple as a chicken nugget, there's not going to necessarily be a ton to talk about, but at the same time, one thing that I had noticed in the past when I have reviewed these and have tried these out is that generally speaking, the spice lingers considerably and actually manifests itself more as an aftertaste. And that's why I'm sort of dragging my feet a little bit to see if that indeed is the case. And yes, indeed that is. I am pleased to say, I confidently believe, based on what I have tried here, that McDonald's is maintaining the status quo. Now, with that, it should be emphasized. These aren't going to be, you know, the highest quality nuggets in the world. And I don't think very many of us anticipate that to be the case anyway. So I don't think that really comes as much of a surprise. It's fast food, it's McDonald's. And many of the fast food nuggets, as we're all familiar with, the chicken isn't going to necessarily be gourmet as far as the quality thereof or the taste is concerned. But is it acceptable? Most definitely it is, I would say. The chicken is, as is always the case with the McNuggets, a little on the spongy side. But is it flavorful? Yes. Does it taste like chicken? Most assuredly so. The flavor, again, is all, there isn't any sort of dry rub on this. It's not as though there is a sauce on this. It's all in the breading, and it's more or less baked in. And when you take the first few bites, and this is how it's been, so I'm pleased to say that this quality remains exactly as it has been, where when you bite in, you will notice immediately the crispy crunch of the fried outer layer. You'll notice that texturally. You'll notice then, of course, the chicken itself, which again, yeah, it's not the world's highest quality, but it is still most definitely acceptable. And you're biting into it, and you taste the chicken. It's a little oily, a little greasy, to be expected, fast food, right? And you don't necessarily notice the spice immediately. It doesn't manifest itself from the first second. Like, you'll sometimes have some really hot wings or something, and the second it hits your tongue, it's like a wave of spice just hits you. This isn't one of those sorts of items. Glad I caught that. But the spice, so you're going to wonder for a second or two, you're not even going to really taste any spice. You're going to think to yourself, well, is there any? Did I get the wrong item? Or is it just not spicy anymore? The spice manifests itself as it continues to permeate throughout your mouth, as you start swallowing the first bite or two. And then in the back of your mouth, you start noticing the spicy aftertaste. That's how it manifests itself. It actually starts in the back of your mouth, and then it works its way to the front. And after a few seconds, then this spice begins lingering throughout all of your mouth, on your tongue, the sides, the back, and it persists. It is an enduring spice. Not to say it's the spiciest, spiciest chicken in the world or anything even close to that, but it is noticeable. It is impactful. And it has that long duration wherein it just takes you, you're going to be caught off guard for a moment. You're going to think, did I even get the right thing? And then the spice hits you. And then it will stay with you for a while. And it will linger for, I'd say, about a minute and a half, even after you swallow everything. So it is a more longer lasting, long duration spice. And evidently, as I've seen in the past, with this sort of spice, it essentially, that's a hater, as they say, that bug flying around trying to interrupt the review, but it can just go keep flying around. I don't care. It's one of those items wherein the spice sort of builds upon itself. So if you just start gobbling these down, and you have one, and then you have another, and then another, and then another, and so on, the spice is going to compound on itself. Which is why, especially if, maybe you're a little sensitive to spicy foods, some light refreshment would be advisable. Having a cold drink on hand I'd say it couldn't hurt. But again, not the spiciest thing at all, but that spice is still there. It's noticeable, and it definitely does linger on a bit. But pleasant, all things considered. And I would say I'm still happy with it. Still of good quality for what it is. I'm happy about the price. That's a great development. And they are still maintaining the standards, which is good to see. That's what I hope to see. And I'm very pleased with that. So some good news. Now I'm going to try out the sauces, but in the end, if that's all that you really want to know, if you enjoyed them in the past, go out and get them, because they're still just as good. Let's try out the dipping sauces real quick. First, the ranch. Not bad. These are flavorful enough on their own that they don't really need a ton of. They don't really need a sauce to be, they're still good as they are. But the ranch does help moderate things out a little bit. That sharpness complements it nicely, but I still taste that spicy aftertaste. But the ranch is still fine. And try out the buffalo. Now, the buffalo does have that spicy note that does hit you immediately. That's the type of spice that will hit you, and you will notice it the second it touches your tongue. The notes, however, of the buffalo sauce, it contradicts slightly with the spicy blend on the nuggets themselves. By that I'm saying they don't necessarily complement each other, but they're not horrible either. It's one of those things where it's like, more likely than not, they're spicy enough as they are. It's not the world's best combination, not the worst though. Maybe get the buffalo sauce if you just want even more spice. It's like, I don't care what it tastes like, I just want it to be spicy. Then maybe that's sort of up your alley, but otherwise, I would say the ranch is a safe bet, but even if you don't want to get any sauce, that too is fine. And therefore, out of 10, what am I going to be rating the 2024 edition of the Spicy Chicken McNuggets from McDonald's? Out of 10, well, being that they've maintained the standards, they're just as good as last year, but the price actually improved a little bit. A year ago, I rated these, let me make sure I get this right, an 8.6 out of 10. But being that the quality is still fine, but the price has gotten better, I'm going to bump the rating up very slightly to an 8.9 out of 10. Because again, I do factor in price, and to see things on the right track should be rewarded if of course the quality is just as good. So that's why I've bumped it up ever so slightly. And that's all that I have for you. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm your host, The Report of the Week.